everyone. Welcome to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. I'm Melissa Albers.
And I'm JJ Parker. This podcast is for seekers, seekers of happiness and joy, seekers of a centered approach to success in life, seekers of their true, authentic selves.
Get ready for some real talk on everything from anxiety, emotions, and habits to love, compassion, and forgiveness. We know you'll be challenged and enlightened by this conversation. We're so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
All right, I was just spying in on your calendar because I'm just loosely stalking you. And holy crap, you have been like wall to wall. I'm like, maybe I can sneak in a quick conversation with Melissa. Nope.
Dang it.
You're found out. You're busted.
I'm busted again. Well,
I know you're busy because even just getting podcast recordings in's tough.
I know.
We try to do weekly planning things, been pretty hit or miss. We've been trying to work on some other content.
Which I've now rescheduled twice. Dang it.
Yeah. So we got to talk about how much you're working.
Well, you just floated this little word across our text chain a couple weeks ago. You know.
Oh, wait for it. Nope. Here's how it works. I was thinking about what people do in their downtime.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I was actually trying to think about how are you effectively using your downtime? How are you giving yourself space?
Yes.
And I specifically said, and this does not apply to you.
See idea prior, which I then scrolled up.
Was workaholics.
Workaholics.
So you are firmly in the workaholic camp right now.
I'm kind of embarrassed. I feel like that's not very self-aware. Well, then I knew you were going to bust my chops. I already knew you were. So I decided to do a little preemptive strike of my own and do a little research on the Google.
Okay, so your tactic here was to prove that you weren't a workaholic by researching workaholics?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to hearing this research.
Damn it. I couldn't find any. They didn't even have the word workaholic on Google.
I am feeling so in my rightness right now.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
dang it.
What's your list?
Okay, fine. Let's just start with what personality type is a workaholic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Workaholics can have a variety of personality traits, including perfectionism, competitiveness, and being ambitious.
Oh. Check.
It says, and even to make matters worse, perfectionists set unrealistic standards for themselves and struggle with delegation. Damn it. Yeah. Overzealous leaders, adrenaline junkies.
It sounds like I'm super judging you about this, but I am obviously in the exact same camp as you.
Yeah, I know, but you did get me while I was down.
Being over here being super hypocritical because I'm right there with you.
Oh my gosh. Well, so then I started being like, well, how many hours do you have to work a week to be considered a workaholic? Yeah. So I looked that up. Yeah.
What's the consensus there?
Workaholics tend to work long hours. However, working long hours doesn't necessarily mean that you are a workaholic. According to work published in the Harvard Business Review, the difference lies in the ability to switch off after work. Namely, an employee can work 60 plus hours a week and still not be a workaholic. But
that's an interesting perspective. It's like how much you're kind of obsessing over your work.
And can you turn it off or not?
Yeah.
And I actually do have to say that I can turn work off. When I am done, I'm done. 100%. But I just have a hard time being done sometimes.
Being done. Well,
I remember when I was in sales that this was a big thing, like straight commission sales. I remember that when people would work out of their house, some
mhm,
people were so rigid about their practices so that they could get in the work mindset. I knew this
mm,
one guy who walked out of his front door and came around and came into the house a different door to go into his office
hmm,
because he needed that mental shift to feel like he was switching
yeah,
gears.
yeah. We talked about this quite a bit during COVID when everyone
Yeah,
did make a mass work from home switch.
yeah,
Um, it was it was hard to get into
yeah,
that work mindset or back out of your work mindset.
yeah, yeah. What do you think that is now? I'm just curious.
Um, my observation is that people are a lot better about it. I mean, there's still, of tons of people that are doing work from home.
Yeah,
And I think people have gotten a lot better at boundaries.
yeah. There's
It's still
that's
not perfect.
no, and
It's still hard.
I think there's a lot of dust ups right now with the
Mm,
work from home initiatives. I think
yeah.
there's going to be a lot more
Yeah.
dust ups. That was a
Well,
little side note.
I wanted to ask you you talked about a couple of things that maybe are part of your past or your training or your conditioning or your
Yeah,
personality
yes.
style that is
Yeah.
driving you
Mm-hmm.
to work so much. So, like, what
Mm-hmm.
are some of those elements for you that drive you to
Mm.
want to to take on the amount of workload that you've taken
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. That's a really good, it's a real honest
And
and
again,
fair
it's
question.
yeah, and not in a judgy way.
No, I know.
Again,
No.
it's like it sounds like I'm accusing you for being ambitious, which I'm not doing.
No, I know you're not. I know we're
Um,
having a little fun.
but yeah, but what do you think for you
Mm-hmm.
drives that?
I think, first of all, being in sales my whole life before I owned The Authentic Leader, you have to make hay when the sun shines. I mean, the old phrase, right? The early bird gets the worm.
Mm-hmm.
Money doesn't grow on trees. Like there's a million
Mm,
phrases about you better get out and work. You
mm-hmm.
have to work. And my learning model was for many, many years that if you would work hard, you will make money,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not going to make money unless you're working hard,
Mm-hmm.
and having such a work ethic developed over the years as a result of that. But I think it also becomes kind of unbalanced
Mm-hmm.
because, obviously as you get into, my stage of the game and having the business as long as I have, everything is through referrals.
Mm,
I'm not out having to hustle to find clients, although I wouldn't
mm-hmm.
mind if I was. But I'm not, it's all through referrals. So I don't need to have that same level of drive and constant hard work,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really difficult to turn it off when you've become accustomed to it for
Mm-hmm.
so long.
Yeah, you said some things and I always think it's really interesting how like our language shapes
Mm,
the way we think. So
yep.
you just rattled off a
Oh,
whole bunch
yeah.
of phrases that all of us use.
Yep.
Um, we have like a fundamental uh maybe values or culture in the United States around this idea of meritocracy,
Yeah. Yes. You've talked
which is the
about this.
idea that if you're smart and you work hard, you get ahead. It's like a pretty
Exactly.
simple equation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty common here. And so the work hard part is an interesting thing because when you see people, climbing the corporate ladder, trying to get ahead, a lot of the ways they do it is just straight up put in more hours than
Right.
other people. There's like a
Right.
competition on how hard you can work. You've talked about this before, like as a salesperson, literally being shamed for
Mm-hmm.
not taking calls after hours, not taking calls on the weekend, not
Yeah.
not putting in this like way overboard amount of effort to get ahead.
Right. And I remember back in the day, if you were on vacation, you didn't even tell people you were on vacation.
Mm,
You did not tell them. You did not change your emails.
yeah.
You did not change your outgoing voicemails. It was like business as usual. No one should know that you're trying
Mhm.
to take a vacation.
So there's a cultural
Yeah.
thing happening here that's conditioning people
Yeah.
to say you have to work hard or else you are not going to get ahead.
Right.
And then AKA, that's going to turn into like you not making enough money and losing your house and everyone's going to hate you and then you're living on the
Exactly.
street. Like you just
Exactly.
spiral into this
Yes.
crazy scenario
Yeah.
that's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
I do think, though, that there's a lot of people that will fall under the camp of, regardless if they were in sales. I think there's a lot of people that fall in the camp of being a workaholic
Hmm.
now, right? And I I never even considered that I was until a couple of years ago. A good buddy of mine, that when I was in out of town with them, he goes, "Well, yeah, you're a workaholic," and I was like, "What?
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not. I can't even believe you'd say that." He's like, "Yeah, yes, you are."
No, I'm not. Let me finish up this email.
Hey, can we just finish this conversation in a minute? I've got a call I've got to take. I'll
I
just be in
gotta
the other
go.
room. So, I then looked up, what are the signs of a workaholic? Or were you going to
Hmm.
ask me something? Were you going to say something? Oh,
Oh, I was just yeah. Let's talk about that because I wanted to talk about yeah some of the other things
mm.
that drive you towards uh
Oh,
being a
yeah,
workaholic because I
yeah.
think what you're saying is like this getting ahead thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, certainly like money. I mean,
Yeah.
why do we work in the first place? It's
Yep.
because we're trying to like
Yep.
earn more.
Right.
Um, and there's a little bit of scarcity mindset
Yeah.
or fear
100%.
mindset
Mm-hmm.
around that.
Yeah. It's
But
old school.
I have some other reasons why I actually end up being a workaholic that aren't
Oh,
those.
really? Well, tell me. Give me a couple.
Um, well, first I find, especially at home, um, if I'm feeling anxious,
Mm.
I work
Mm.
way more.
Yep.
Like I use work as like an escape mechanism, I think.
Oh, interesting.
Um, because if there's something I don't want to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
like I will throw myself into work as
You
like
do
it's a
a
super
project.
important thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if we're
Good.
having like a rough go with the kids and we should really deal with that, what I do instead is rebuild the website.
It's not funny, but it is
It's not
exactly, it's a
funny, but it's
knee-jerk
true.
reaction. It is a knee-jerk reaction
Yep.
of the things that we do. I feel guilty if I'm not working really hard.
Mm,
I feel like I am
I
letting
guess.
myself down,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Sometimes it feels selfish to not work. That sounds kind of weird, but like,
Exactly. Yeah.
um, yeah,
So, okay, do you wanna hear some of this list?
I do.
What are the signs of a workaholic? Um, Number 1, putting in long hours at work even when not needed.
Hmm.
Losing sleep to engage in work projects or finish tasks. I don't really do that much because I really like my sleep.
Well, so I'll do that. I'll do that. I totally do that.
Do you?
Yeah. But there's a little bit of parallel in there for me because uh with my well, if I get inspired for
Mhm.
something, if I'm having like a
Oh,
big
oh yeah,
creative
yeah,
moment,
yeah.
then I just have to
Mhm.
get it out.
It's so fun
Like
then.
it is super fun. So
Yeah,
like yes, is that a workaholic uh like tendency? Probably.
yeah,
But do I really like it? Also yes.
yeah,
Um my wife Amber, she knows at this point that if I'm having like if I'm super inspired and super obsessed with a particular thing,
yeah.
like
Just
on
to
the
leave you be.
weekend, that she has to leave me be until it runs its course, or else I just can't even engage and do anything until I like work it all out.
Oh,
Like I have to solve the problem. I have to work through the
yeah.
creative act, or else I am useless.
Well, that's like right down like 2 more bullet points. So let
Oh,
me just read a
okay.
couple more because we're right there. Here's number 3, being obsessed with work-related
Hmm.
success. That's totally me.
Hmm.
100%.
Yeah.
Actually, but you know what's kind of weird about that for me is that um I have to know that I'm being very successful and I have to have the numbers right there. Like I know my numbers all the
Mm,
time, right?
mhm,
However, I never share those with anybody.
mm,
So that's kind of a weird thing, right? Because I don't want people to feel like I'm comparing myself to them or,
yeah.
my level of execution is so much different than
Well,
theirs or anything like that.
I think that's interesting for people to reflect on because
Yeah.
what you're touching on is that some people work more for like the external validation or the external rewards or
Yeah.
how it looks.
Yeah.
Other people do it for internal
Yeah.
motivation reasons that maybe they're not sharing, but they need to satisfy for themselves.
Yeah. Right.
Um,
Right.
both I can see can easily lead to being a
Yeah.
workaholic.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Um, having intense fear of failure at work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's an interesting one. I think that happens all the time with people, just as I'm reflecting on my coaching
Mm-hmm.
conversations. And what's so interesting about that is that I have observed most people that are in that level of conversation with me to be honest enough about their fear of failure. There's they have taken a scenario in their minds and they have beyond expanded it into something that's not realistic at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you're coaching seasoned high level folks.
Yes.
I
Yes.
just want
Yep.
I just want everyone to realize that
Yep.
that idea, that fear of maybe not being enough or not doing enough
Mhm.
runs through every level of your organization.
Yes. Every level, every number of years of experience,
Mm-hmm.
seasoned, polished.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 The one of the sources of that I think is interesting, I'd like to hear your observation, is that I'll see my team
Mhm.
kind of maybe running in that fear mode a little bit. And it usually stems from like expectations. Like
Yes.
they've got
Yes.
their own idea
Yep.
of what is expected of them. And it's
Yes.
not in line with what the company expects from them, but they'll build it up. They'll
I know.
keep building up the expectation higher and higher. When in
Mhm.
reality, it's just like, no, it's just back down here, you guys. Like we
Yeah.
don't need to, sacrifice our whole entire being
Right.
for whatever we got going on at work this week.
Right. That is absolutely true. And and as my coach has always said to me, is the level of expectation is in direct correlation to the amount of resentment. And that when we set ourselves up with such expectation, we are setting ourselves up to be really resentful.
Mhm.
And it's so true.
Yep.
And it's all self-flogging.
Yep.
It's not other people.
Yep. There's this is a great conversation with people's managers or employers.
Yeah.
This is like sometimes I like to try to bust some of these myths. It's like,
Yeah.
it is completely reasonable for you at your job to ask, like, what is expected of me with this project?
Totally. No one
people don't
does
do
that.
No one does that. And then they work way too hard or miss the mark in some way, and it'll cause all sorts of ruckus. But if you can get ahead of it and just say, what do you expect, out of here? And I try to be really clear with people. Like, there'll be times in our company where, like, we do need to put in way more effort.
Yes. Yeah.
For a week or two.
Yes.
Like
project
we're coming
or
up.
something.
Yeah, we're coming up on a trade show. We have 39 days until our next big trade show. Well, guess what, gang? The next 39 days, we're all going to hustle real hard. After, we get to take a little break. Let's take the pressure off, right?
Right.
But just making sure everyone's clear about those expectations at work, I think, can really help this workaholic tendency.
Yeah, this idea that you just have to always be doing more no matter what. All right, here's another one. Being paranoid about work-related performance. That is interesting.
Again, that's like an expectation or a clarity thing around what is expected of you. And if you don't know that, if you don't know what's expected of you and how you're being sort of judged and rated and measured,
right,
I'd be super paranoid.
I know. I just think to myself, good Lord, I don't even have people breathing down my neck to perform. It's like, good grief. All right, here's the last one in this particular list, and I do have one more, but here's the last one in this list. Disintegrating personal relationships because of work. Now, this is one that I have to admit that I am a bit embarrassed about. How this hits me is I have my closest relationships. If you're looking at a bullseye, right? I'm in the middle and then I've got the closest relationships. But as you move out of the circle, you have the relationships that you're not as involved with. You don't see as much. You don't have the energy to maintain. I mean, I think as adults, it gets to be really hard how many relationships can you maintain at a given time anyway? But if you are constantly focused on a work product and always preoccupied with that, then you don't have the space to take care of those relationships on the fringe. And maybe even it impacts the ones that are close in occasionally.
Yeah. How many times have you used like work? Like I got a thing in the morning. I'm too busy this week. I've got a big project happening as an excuse to not do something with someone.
Yeah. Yeah, I have for sure.
All the time. I mean, I think we do that all the time. Is like we'll use work as an excuse. And maybe excuse is a little harsh, but like as the reason.
Yes, as the reason, because no one will question that.
Yeah.
Because there is something about Americans thinking that they're workaholics. Like that's not a bad thing. Like that's a thing, right? We're always like we say that it's a bad thing, and yet all the stuff that we do is just furthering this idea that we need to keep being like this. And that's the part that's really a drag.
Yeah. Yeah. How tight can you wind that before it snaps?
Exactly. Well, funny you should ask, because on my last list is the key points about workaholics. The number one key point.
I was gonna say I like this slight role reversal where you have the list and not me.
I know
you did the research and not me.
I know. This is like the third
reacting.
time I've done.
I like
Don't
this
get used
side
to
of the coin.
Don't get used to it, because I've done this like 3 times in the last 6 months. I feel done now. Like this is exhausting for me. All right. Key points about a workaholic: compulsive behavior. They feel a strong need to constantly work even when it's not required. Neglecting other aspects of their lives. Their excessive work often comes at the expense of personal relationships, hobbies, and self-care. Yes, for sure. My yoga mat is very lonely right now. Yeah. Difficulty relaxing. They may struggle to unwind or take breaks from work.
Oh yeah, I feel that one.
I do too.
I can't relax.
I know. I've been so bad.
I bring my laptop on vacation as like it's like my security blankie that I need to like carry around. Like I carry around like hugging it. Like I hug it when I bring it from my hotel room to the coffee shop.
Oh, I know. Why? All right. And then the final one: potential negative impacts. Workaholism can lead to stress, burnout, health issues, and relationship problems. Well, thank you, Einstein, for the nice little summary. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of elements happening here that, like, in the vein of self-awareness that like we really have to explore for ourselves, because we talked about some things. Other things that affect me are like, and we've talked about it quite a bit, and I still struggle with it, is that a lot of my self-image, like the way I see myself, is a really high output person.
Same.
And so that will like drive me to do things that are maybe not super useful, but are still high output because they're like aligning with how I see myself.
Yeah.
And until I change the way I see myself, I'm probably not going to change my behavior.
So do you think that you change how you see yourself? Like, or I'll say we, not you. Do you think we change the way we see ourselves based on internal factors or external factors that we can't control, that force us?
That's a great question.
Yeah, because I feel like, for me, as I've gotten older, I don't have the same level of energy that I used to. But I just feel like I got a lot of stuff to do before I'm done working. Like I have a lot of people I want to impact. I just have a lot of things that are on my plate. And so I feel like this constant movement. And yet then I'm just like tired. I don't have it in me.
Mhm.
It's like, no, I can't continue to operate like this because it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, you can't continue at 100%.
Mm-mm. Yeah, so it is
Or in
interesting
your
to
case,
think
even
about.
more than that. I mean, you're often even overbooked.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not, these are not things I'm proud of. And for all my coaching clients that are listening, do as I say, not as I do. Please and thanks.
See, this
Uh,
this this is this is this is pod growth right here. Like
yes.
last week we were talking about our 250th episode. Here's
Yeah.
Melissa. You would never have admitted you were a workaholic like a couple of years
2 weeks
ago,
ago. 2
2
weeks
weeks
ago.
ago.
You forced my hand.
Well, there's a couple of things that would be interesting to do, and maybe people know the answer to this and they're just
Mm,
not fessing up to it, like me.
yeah.
Um, but I wonder what my wife thinks
Mm,
about the amount I work,
mm. Yeah, that's interesting.
or my friends, or my
Mm,
colleagues.
right.
I should go
That
ask
seems
them.
scary.
Yeah, there was I did have one kind of experience with this, and actually in the, I wouldn't say not workaholic way, but I did have a friend um who he worked a lot, and he was in the kind of business, is in a real boom and bust kind of business. So when it was like
Mm.
you're saying, when it was on, it was like
Oh, yeah.
on.
All
It
in.
was like all
Yeah.
in every second of every day. Um, and I think at that time, um, because I'd say my workload through the many years will kind of like go up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes it's really high, and sometimes like it's much more manageable. And I think when our kids were younger, I did end up kind of using um, my work's kind of like flexibility to
Oh,
be
sure.
there quite a bit for the kids. I did a
Mm-hmm.
lot in their elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember him sharing with me that his wife was super irritated at him and said, "Why can't you be around more like JJ is?" And I felt really
Oh,
bad about that because I'm like, dude, you're working your ass off. Like you're providing for your family
right.
when when you need to. So like that's so
Oh,
weird.
wow.
But like her expectation was
Yeah.
like, hey, I'd rather you be around more and work less, because like that was like the trade she wanted to make. And he was like, hey, I gotta get it while it's good at
Right.
work and close all
Right.
these deals. So just again, it's like an expectation
And a
thing.
comparison. Like, that's terrible, right? I
And the
mean,
comparison,
it's
right?
comparing. Yeah, because it is different for everybody. Like,
Yeah.
you might be a workaholic at 30 hours a week and you might be a workaholic at 60 hours a week. It
Yeah.
might just be everything about what your energy is telling you and what you're doing, how you're serving,
Yeah. So
if you're serving it or not.
yeah, are you are you doing sort of serving what you want in life for
Right.
yourself and for your spouse and your partners and your colleagues and
Right.
your family? But there's so many concerns. There's so many different
I know.
people
I know.
um, that kind of like rely on us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That it's not real straightforward to understand if you know if you're not really aware, the pressures. I'm just saying, like the pressures from all these different angles can really pile up.
Right. And you know what? The other thing is as much as we've been talking about work for the sake of work and the work product, we are so much more than work.
Hmm.
Work has nothing to do with who we really truly are. But we forget that. We
Well,
forget that and we
I
end up serving this master in a way that's just
mm,
so unhelpful.
I will also say that, like, even for me, I've observed others. You can totally be a workaholic at home.
Yes.
There's all sorts of projects
Yes.
at home that I
Oh,
do
yeah.
that
Oh,
I
that's such a good
totally don't need
call
to do.
out. Oh my gosh, that's such a good call out. That is so true.
We have
So
someone in
true.
our neighborhood who's got like the most immaculate lawn you've ever seen. It's just like
Is
perfect
is it
golf course.
yours?
Is not mine. No,
Okay.
I gave up on that goal many years ago. But Amber and I joke that like that he doesn't like his family.
Oh,
He's just out there working on his lawn all the time. But that's like another expression of workaholism, right? It's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
maybe that brings them joy. Totally. I'm not, again, I'm just using
Right.
that kind of as a silly
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um,
Hmm.
but there's stuff I do at our house that is me expressing like this need for like high output, like
Mhm.
doing something valuable, being
Doing
busy, not
something
being
valuable.
lazy. Like there's all
Yes.
these things that
Yes.
I label myself, and then I
Mhm.
do. Then that will cause me to do insane things like using the shop vac to get the bird seed out of our rocks.
Oh my God. Oh, we'll
So
just let
talk
that
about
go. Just
talk
we're
about being
just
a
gonna
workaholic.
we're just gonna let that one go. Just gone. I think this is a great reflection conversation for people. It's like, are you satisfied with how much work that you're
Hmm.
doing? I think it's a good time to ask yourself that. And if not, what needs to happen so that you can even make some sort of modification? Like, do you feel satisfied? Is your energy level good? Is your health good? Are your relationships good?
Hmm.
And if any of those are wobbly, are they because of your work?
Yep.
And what does that look like for you to make some kind of modification around that? Would it be too hard, or would it be super easy, or you just haven't thought of it? Because I think some of these things aren't hard to adjust even a little bit. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. And just for me personally, the more I work, the more I want to work. So it does
Yes.
kind of wrap itself
Yes.
around the axle a little bit,
Oh,
and
totally. Yeah.
it's good to take a little time out and think about.
Yeah. It is. It's awesome.
Did you enjoy this episode? Please go to your favorite podcast platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review so others can discover it as well.
Growing self-awareness is a lifelong journey, and there's always further to go. And it's better when we're all in it together. Please think of someone you know who could benefit from hearing today's conversation and share this episode with them. We can't thank you enough for listening. Until next time, happy exploring, seekers.